Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Today we have got some Chelsea news, and when you wake up this morning, sadly, this one isn't as positive and forward thinking as some of the other news has been in recent mornings, but we've got to sometimes have these days of non-clarity when we wake up to know the positions and what is needed in order for Chelsea to actually go ahead and advance these deals through. Thomas Tuchel will want players to be signing as quickly as possible. Every game that goes by, particularly after a 3-0 defeat against Leeds, Chelsea can't keep failing with bids and then either not turn their attention elsewhere or actually cough up the money that some of these clubs are asking for Wesley Fofana, Aubameyang, Anthony Gordon, because at the same time, there are existing Chelsea players who look as though they are about to leave. But before we go into these stories, I want to ask you guys to subscribe to the George Benson Football Channel if you haven't already done so. You guys have been going crazy with the support in the last few days. I've been pumping out the content. If you can hit the like button on the video too, that will be absolutely fabulous. But we are going to begin with Chelsea's latest rejected bid for Wesley Fofana. Leicester have been digging in their heels with this one. We've got 1 week to go until deadline day. 1 week to go until this is no longer possible. Chelsea are in a precarious position when we currently look at the trust that Thomas Tuchel evidently doesn't have in Trevor Chalobah. I think at the weekend, putting Ruben Loftus-Cheek right wing back when Reece James is evidently the best right wing back in the Premier League just goes to show that putting Ruben there to put Reece in right centre back means that for whatever reason, Tuchel isn't fancying Trevor Chalobah at the moment. Now, the updates with Chalobah is that he is currently the priority of Inter Milan. Inter Milan want to sign Trev on loan, which I think Chelsea, whether Tuchel has a little thing against Chalobah at the moment or not, I'm not entirely sure. It's also not the first time we've seen Trevor Chalobah just be disregarded, I guess you could say. I'm not going to try and push an agenda here saying that Tuchel doesn't rate Chalobah. Chalobah doesn't have a future at Chelsea. That would be very premature to say that, but we saw it last season. If Trev put in a bad performance or made a mistake, we'd then see him dropped for a couple of games afterwards. So maybe it is a statement from Tuchel to the owners to say, we know that we want Faufana, but we're going to have to really push for it because at the moment, I need to put Reece James right centre-back, not Chalobah, which then evidently means that we miss out on all of that quality that James has in the right wing-back position. Still nothing at the moment from Inter, and I think it will be dependent on whether Fofana signs as to whether Chelsea even remotely entertain Trev leaving this summer on loan. The update with Fofana is that 70 million was Chelsea's recent bid. Leicester have always said they wanted 80 million, and I might be wrong with this, but I do believe it wasn't that long ago, maybe just a couple of weeks ago, that Chelsea bid 70 million before. At least that's what we were told. So I think at this point, Chelsea are trying to play a psychological game here with Leicester, knowing that as the window goes on, as Fofana continues to follow Chelsea players on Instagram, continues to push for a move, Wesley Fofana is currently training with Leicester's under-23s. So I think all parties involved here know that the move is going to happen. And I think this recent bid from Chelsea that was rejected by Leicester for 70 million was simply Chelsea just trying to see if the time that has passed since we first made the bid, we've had 3 bids rejected now for Wesley Fofana, and I think this new one of 70 million was something a little bit more along the lines of Chelsea know that the more we creep that offer up, I think it was 50, 60, 70, not quite. We had 70 million a few weeks before, but there were various different rumours. Chelsea are trying to test the resolve here. They know that Leicester want to make signings. They know that Rodgers wants to make signings, but it is all dependent on money coming in. This has always been the case with Leicester City this summer. They can't spend money unless they bring in money. So this Fofana sale to Chelsea, I think Leicester are going to try and wait until as close to the deadline day as possible. With Leicester at home for Chelsea this weekend, Chelsea want to get this deal done. There is absolutely no way on this earth that unless Fofana personally U-turns right now and says, I want to stay here, I don't want to go to Chelsea, which is not going to happen. Let's just get that clear. Fofana doesn't play for Leicester at the weekend. So at this point, Chelsea are in a position Tuchel's in a position where I think we're just looking at this wondering, do we want to risk it until the end of the window? Is there a chance that 75, just under 80, or do we have to go all the way to 80? Leicester have made it clear what they want. It's up to Chelsea now. Do we want Fofana or not? Chelsea apparently are reluctant to go above the 70 million we're offered. And I think this could end up being a worry. At the end of the day, it's not my money. I know that we're going to be spending a lot when we look at the final totals of expenditure this summer, but I think this is a deal that we've got to get done. He's the player that Tuchel wants. It's the player that Bowley wants. Chelsea need him at this moment in time. Get this one done. In other news, Chelsea have officially sold Emerson Palmieri to West Ham. We spoke about it a bit yesterday. The deal is worth up to 15 million, which I think at this point is brilliant business for Chelsea Football Club. He's signed for West Ham. Best of luck to Emerson because he is a European champion with us. Might not have ever been spectacular, but he certainly did a job. Scored against Atletico Madrid on our way to a Champions League victory as well. So congratulations on your Chelsea career, mate. Adios. We can no longer support you, unfortunately, because you play for the bloody Hammers. We move into the story regarding Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Sadly, in yesterday's video, or maybe it was the day before now, it was premature that a deal had been agreed, which is why you pay very close attention to the sources that we receive information from. So, Aubameyang to Chelsea. Barcelona are holding out for 30 million euros. When I look at 30 million euros, well, I've never actually physically seen 30 million euros with my bare eyes. Would love to be honest. If anyone's out there, any sponsors or brands that want to work with me, they've got 30 mil in the bank, I'd absolutely love you forever, I promise. 30 million for Aubameyang, I think it's too much. I think the 18.4 million plus 6 in add-ons that we reported, or 18.6 plus 4, I think that is the kind of fee that Chelsea should be looking to pay. It's around 30 million euros anyway, but Barcelona are being stubborn here. And I think Barca at this point, with all the signings they've made, with all of the different little financial stories that we've seen throughout the summer, I think Barcelona are just knowing Chelsea's situation. I think the issue Chelsea have, other clubs know because of how well documented it is, that there is a bit of desperation this summer with Chelsea Football Club. So as the window goes on, there's a lot of psychological warfare going on between Chelsea and other clubs. Leicester know Chelsea need a centre-back. They know eventually we're probably going to creep that offer up to around 80 million. Barcelona, the same. They know Chelsea need and want a striker. So, what are they going to do? They're going to wait as long as they possibly can. Keep hold of the player, knowing the player wants to go, knowing personal terms are no issue. It's whether or not Barcelona and Leicester accept Chelsea's bids. The final story and the discussion that I want to end today's video on. It's the title. Callum Hudson-Odoi is wanted by Bayer Leverkusen. Apparently up to 20 clubs wanted to take Callum Hudson-Odoi on loan. Chelsea are adamant they do not want to sell the player. Callum knows that he needs to be playing football. He is not at the top of the pecking order in the eyes of Thomas Tuchel. Even Hakim Ziyech gets put on before Callum Hudson-Odoi. So Callum is wanted by Bayer Leverkusen. Callum's family have been negotiating with Bayer Leverkusen that this is a good idea. And the reason why I think the Anthony Gordon transfer, which is currently baffling a load of people in the Chelsea community because of the price of £60 million. There is a reason why I think this is a good deal for everyone. The issue with Callum Hudson-Odoi is that we have been talking about the word potential for 4 odd years. We have never seen Callum break through, go into a rich vein of form and make any kind of position his own in the Chelsea team. So with that, we've got enough data at Chelsea for Tuchel to not be confident to fully back Callum Hudson-Odoi in the wide areas as a first choice. So for Callum wants to move because he knows he's at a pinnacle point of his career now at 21 years old, where he's got to be playing football. He wants to be at Chelsea, but he knows that up until this point, he's not done enough to warrant starting in a Thomas Tuchel team. Now, there's a lot of debate about, is Callum direct enough? Is he good enough? And my opinion is, Callum's got all the ability, but he doesn't do it often enough. So often he goes forward, cuts back, doesn't actually take the player on. Sometimes he does. Sometimes he goes ahead and can put in a brilliant cross, a brilliant pass. Very, very smart, intelligent football in mind, but does he show it often enough? No. The reason why I think Chelsea going for Anthony Gordon could actually be good for every single party involved. Everton get 60 million quid for a player who's only 21 years old and unproven consistently at a high level. Anthony Gordon wants to come to Chelsea. There is absolutely less data that we have on Anthony Gordon in the Premier League and at top level football as we do with Hudson-Odoi. The issue around that is that it is a massive gamble. However, with Anthony Gordon wanting to come to Chelsea, it's a fresh lease of life. Any new signing who comes to a new club wants to impress immediately. So, because of all we know about Callum, because we know the way that Tuchel is pushing for certain transfers this summer. Some people are saying that they don't believe these are Tuchel signings. I believe it is, to be honest. I think not only is it a plan for the future, Callum gets the kind of minutes to showcase just how good he is. Chelsea keep him, we loan him out, we're not selling him. Callum comes back, we either sell him for a big fee, or he's had enough playing football to be able to come back and know that he can come into this Chelsea team. Anthony Gordon is an exciting player. The argument right now is that he's not much better than Callum Hudson-Odoi. The issue I have is that we can use this logic all we like, but quite frankly, there are not really that many options on the market. I would have loved to have seen Chelsea go for Anthony from Ajax. I think that would have been a brilliant move. Rafael Leao, a player that we're linked with, also plays over on the left. Christian Pulisic, I believe if Callum Hudson-Odoi goes on loan and Anthony Gordon comes in, I still think Pulisic might have a big role to play. I think he is our most direct attacker. I think he's the most likely to try and take players on. In terms of the goals and assists per 90, Pulisic's numbers are not awful. He doesn't get that many minutes and he's been playing out of position. So, with Callum desperate to get football, having spent 4 years trying to get into this Chelsea team and not really succeeding, now it's the time to go. Chelsea keep him on the books, we don't sell him, so if Callum Hudson-Odoi shows that he can be the player that we all thought he was going to be, perfect. Anthony Gordon as well, 60 million is very, very steep indeed. But I think at this point in time, Chelsea needs to refresh the front line. And whether you think Callum's a better player or not, I think at this moment, it's irrelevant. It's up to what the manager wants to sign, what the manager wants to go with. And I think Anthony Gordon could be the man to come in, see this opportunity to get Champions League football playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world and continue to develop. The stats he has at Everton are because Everton were woeful last season. Playing around better players, maybe he can be the man to unlock Chelsea's attacking creative flaws. But anyway, still not convinced about the price. But I do think Callum going on loan is the best thing for him. It is another player that we don't have to try and please in the dressing room to build resentment. So hopefully this all works out. But 60 million, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video today. If you're not yet subscribed to GBFC, be sure to do so. Turn on the bell notifications so that you don't miss anything. Hit the like button if you did enjoy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Come on, you Blues.